This is Rob Bryant, roller coasters and intubations. I'm from New Zealand, home to the Kiwi, home to the Kiwi grip, way of incorporating an ET tube with the New Zealand invention of the gum elastic bougie. New Zealand has one roller coaster. It lives at Rainbow's End. In my opinion, Rainbow's End is ready for a couple of new mascots. Today we're going to cover the benefits of roller coasters as they apply to intubation, the oxyhema coaster curve, bad roller coaster buddies, and how they can teach us about bad airway buddies, my roller coaster interpretation of pulse ox lag, and the way of using a roller coaster scream to remind us to use non-invasive ventilation as part of a pre-oxygenation strategy. The oxyhema coaster curve. I'm not a brave man. I start screaming on a roller coaster the minute I drop onto the steep part of the curve below that 88% range. We need to do all we can with our pre-oxygenation strategy to keep these roller coaster cars in the safe oxygenation zone and in the safe apnea period. Supposing you like roller coasters. You're at Whispering Pines, Michigan. You've given your spouse and kids the slip. Front row seat on Whispering Pines roller coaster. Trouble is, the park's busy. Who do you not want to sit next to you on your solo roller coaster voyage? About these two, morbidly obese man, pregnant woman, both of them with limited physiologic reserve, poor lower esophageal sphincter tone, and body habituses that'll make it hard to keep that bar down on the roller coaster. Any child is going to be no fun to sit next to on a scary roller coaster, and they're going to make your life pretty scary trying to intubate them with their limited physiologic reserve and increased oxygen consumption. This guy just ate 2 pounds of chili cheese fries, washed it down with a Wiener Schnitzel, won his eating contest, and celebrated with a couple of beers. You can smell the vomit from him as he sits down beside you on the roller coaster, and as you're walking into the recess room, smelling that vomit, knows that the intubation is going to be interesting. This guy wheezes anytime he moves more than 4 feet, has to lug his oxygen with him everywhere. It's going to be kind of cramped inside of that roller coaster car, and his safe apnea duration is going to be comparatively kind of short anytime you try intubating him. This guy's mad, angry, and belligerent and is still going on about the Mayan apocalypse. He's scaring your fellow coaster riders. You're worried he's going to threaten your life by opening the bar and jumping out of the roller coaster. And in the recess room, you're worried he could threaten the life of you or your staff. Physiologic, anatomic, and behavioral issues make unpleasant roller coaster buddies and make unpleasant airway buddies. Pulse ox lag. This concept explains why the pulse ox finger probe isn't always telling the truth. The pulse ox finger probe is not an instantaneous representation of what's happening to the hemoglobin molecules in your lungs. This graph from Dan Davis's interview on the MCRIT podcast shows that the forehead and radial artery probes pick up almost instantaneously a drop in your FiO2 at 0 minutes, whereas the finger probe takes up to 2 minutes to register this drop in FiO2. Represented on our coaster, your finger probe tells you what's happening to the person in the back of the roller coaster, whereas we care what's happening to the person sitting up front of the roller coaster. Back to Shivering Timbers, this time in the middle of January. The pointy bit of these arrows shows you the lungs. The rear end of the arrows shows you what's happening in the fingers. You've just intubated someone, one of your roller coaster buddies. They were tough. Sats were 85% at the end of the intubation. You saw the tube pass through the cords, you've got good chest rise and fall, good end-tidal CO2, but the minute you start bagging the patient, the sats tank. The sats tank because your saturation in your lungs at the time you got your tube in was probably down around the 65-70% range, but your finger pulse ox probe falsely told you and falsely reassured you that you were up in the 80s. You've got to madly bag this patient for a minute, wondering if your tube's really where you think it is. This is me, age 8, 1982, Space Mountain, Disneyland. 8 to 10 minutes of screaming hell. Little did I know that during my roller coaster-induced scream, I was increasing my intra-alveolar pressure, recruiting some more alveoli, and appropriately pre-oxygenating myself in case anyone needed to intubate me. We can use the roller coaster scream as a prompt to remember the use of non-invasive ventilation to optimize our pre-oxygenation strategy. You should also use that scream inside of your frontal lobe as you walk into a scary recess room to remind yourself of the same thing, to use non-invasive ventilation as part of your pre-oxygenation strategy. To recap, the oxyhemic coaster reminds us that the oxyhemoglobin curve is a slippery slope and we need to do all we can to stay inside of that safe apnea duration. Bad roller coaster buddies, with their bad physiology, bad anatomy, and bad behavior, are going to make for bad airway buddies. Pulse ox lag tells us that the finger probe is 30 to 90 seconds off the pace. And anytime you hear a scream on a coaster or feel a scream inside of your head, think of non-invasive ventilation to help you out. If you're trying to see one of these, think of everything a roller coaster can do to help you out.